So this past weekend, Gran Turismo 7 had me doing something that I don't normally do, and that is the Gazoo Cup. It's a series of races featuring Toyota as well as some other cars, and pretty much the main reason why I don't do it is because they make you sign up for some survey. Oh bro, what is this? Why do I have to do all this? Anyway, this past weekend I couldn't resist. They had a Super Formula race at Catalunya with no chicane, the best layout of that track. So naturally, I had to choose between the Toyota Super Formula and the Honda Super Formula, and just despite the Toyota, I chose the Honda. Now, I didn't get to do all 3 slots, just the last 2 because of reasons, but here's how they went. Right off the bat, you're gonna see that there's some pretty heavy hitters in here. Grove Street, Todd, Maximus, Racer 51, Paralinora, and others. I did about 30 minutes of practice before this because I needed to get used to the speed of the Super Formula compared to the Group 3 cars that I had done the previous day at Brazil. Now, normally I'd back up, give a little bit more space, but I know the 2 in front are incredibly fast. So my thought process is, as long as I can keep Maximus in view, then I'm probably doing a good job. Okay, so down to turn 1. Braking right at the escape road patch, trying not to ride too much of the curb, excuse me. Upshifting early to 5th, which I found out later that I didn't need to do, but for this qualifying lap, I accidentally did it. Down to 3rd, back up to 4th. As we head to the second half of the circuit, a late apex here. I think I rode a little bit too much curve, but Maximus is still in view, so that's a good thing for me. Now here, I went up to 5th. Ideally, I would have taken that in 4th, downshifted to 3rd, and came out in 4th. And here, just trying to not take too much of the curve, because if you do, it's pretty much an instant wipeout. Braking at the 100 into the hairpin. Probably cut a little bit too much of that corner. Out in 3rd. Now this turn here, I didn't realize until the second run, was that you could take that in 4th. Down to 2nd and up to 4th. The final 2 corners are flat, as I mentioned before. And coming across the line, what are we going to have here? A 120.1. So not my best. I think in my practice sessions, my best time was a 119.6 with an optimal time of 119.3. And I think nerves got the best of me here as I rode a little bit too much curve, and that was pretty much it. So I went back into the pits knowing that my second qualifying lap was over. So a lot of work to do to catch up. However, we have a super nice livery courtesy of Sugar Shuffles again. Big shout out to Sugar Shuffles for making that livery for me a long time back. And yeah, it's a grid start. So some things with this car that I found out over time is to start in 2nd gear and use the handbrake instead of the foot brake, and use that overtake off the line. So we get away, good start, right behind Tulipix, take the inside lane. I started to lay off the overtake, but just come right up to the back of Steve here. Gets a little squirrely, somebody's off. And here is pretty much where my race unravels a little bit. A little lag spike, and I end up with front damage, bumping into Quackadilly Blip. Not intentional, but that pretty much sealed my fate for this race. So you're gonna see as we get to the long straights, the top speed is heavily compromised, and you have a definite reduction of downforce in the front of the car, so tend to go wide. Now, with this being a 30-lap race, it just becomes a question as to how long I can tolerate having this damage and losing positions, as Tulipix sends it up the inside, but I was just about able to hold him off there around the outside. And it's going to be crucial that I'm in the slipstream because, like I said before, the top speed is going to be issue now as long as I have this damage. You can see I needed to attack that corner a little bit better, but I'm 1.1 seconds behind and increasing to P8 in front. Now we're gonna skip ahead here to the end of lap 2, and you can see Racer 51 is right behind me, hot on my tail. 0.3 seconds. I moved to the inside, but this is gonna be a fruitless endeavor. My top speed is heavily compromised, and he goes whizzing past. Not even really gonna fight it. Just gonna try to stay as close as I can to receive the slipstream from Racer to make up for that top speed deficit. And already over the course of 2 corners, he's almost a second ahead. So that's pretty much a done deal. And I think at this point, what's going through my head is, how do I pull off a 2-stop successfully? When should I pit to get on the softs and fix the damage? And then how long can I make the soft tires last? Now, into the pits I go, and what you're going to find here is that the pit loss is not reduced like how it was at Brazil for the Manufacturers Cup. So I'm going to have to basically have a 30-second pit stop and then be behind the entire pack for the rest of the race. And the damage isn't instantaneously healed like it's been in past events in the pits, where you only lose 1,000th of a second. It actually takes a full second for the front damage to heal. Now, at the end of lap 7 here, we're gonna find that I'm not the only one who needed to pit early, who started on the mediums. Parallon headed into the pits at the end of lap 7, and it's actually going to be pretty tight on pit exit to see who's going to end up ahead as I go down the main straight, 120.3, which is my best time so far. Not terribly far off the pace, and we actually get by. So at this point, it's a hashtag not last with Tulipix 10.8 seconds ahead. Now, fast forwarding all the way to lap 12, you can see we've cut that gap down from 10 seconds to 1.4 to Tulipix ahead. Not sure if he's carrying damage or not, or if he's just deep into his first stint with softs or mediums. But I know I have another pit stop to do, and so does he. So this would be a fight for true P11. I should mention that it's incredibly tough to follow someone. As you can see, I totally missed the apex there. I have to lift quite a bit. Some of these turns, especially the longer ones, it's next to impossible to follow. As we see, he has a 0.5 second penalty, so that's actually really good for us. That will give us an opportunity to get an overtake done as he serves that penalty next lap in the backstretch. Now, I actually have a brain fart as he goes into the pits, so we get that position pretty much for free. And I was worried that I was going to get a penalty for cutting that second to last corner, but I just managed to keep one tire on. So now up to P11, true P11. Gonna need to do one more pit stop towards the end of the race, and Simi is 16.5 seconds ahead. So now moving forward to the end of lap 14, DG Maximus is in the pits. He's coming out. I'd very much like to get this position from him as I use the overtake, but I realize I'm just a bit too far back, and another lag spike happens, and I lose control of the car, but fortunately no damage. But that's going to allow Quackadilly Blip, who was behind and essentially a pit stop ahead of me, to get back into the picture as I go wide. So these soft tires are really starting to act up. The loss of grip is evident, and still half of the race to go. A lot of people did half and half, 15-15. And for sure the one stop is the go-to strategy here. Drum Tank is out of the pit on mediums. I'm hammering the overtake just to make sure that I don't fall behind even further. So up to 9th place, which is super temporary, because again I have to pit, and you can tell just through that corner alone, it's so difficult with the dirty air in this game for high speed cars to stick around. It's almost as if there's like a wall. When you get to 1.5 seconds, it becomes so much more difficult to approach, which is why the race start is critical. But at the end of lap 17, I've done 13 laps on the softs. Time to do another 13 laps. So I go into the pits in P9, and inevitably I'm going to go to the back of the pack. So coming out of the pits, how far am I behind Tulipix? Actually not too far, so 3.5 seconds, 4 seconds by the time we get to corner 1 with fresh tires and 13 laps to go. If I can just manage the tire wear, I should be able to keep a hashtag not last finish. And now I'm well within the slipstream, so if I can just hold on for the next 2 corners, as Tulipix actually gets himself another half-second penalty. So we're pretty much right there. Just gotta hold on for 1 more corner and just make sure I don't go wide on the last corner of the circuit. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna need to use a little bit of overtake here, as Grove picks up himself a 0.5 second penalty, and Tulipix goes off, manages to catch it, but we're right there with Grove Street. Gonna use a little bit of overtake here just to make sure we get that overtake done before turn 1. And the move is done with Simi just 3 seconds ahead. All right, now lap 27, 2 laps later, we're within a second of Simi with likely considerably better tires. It's just a question as to whether I can keep it on track for the main straight, and we might be able to get a move done here. Through those 2 corners alone, I think we lost about 3/10. But in these low-speed corners where dirty air isn't quite as much of a factor due to the high downforce nature of the car, we were able to claw back a couple tenths down to 8 tenths going into the final corner. So it's really just about nailing this last turn, and we're just about there using the overtake. But you can see I don't have too much overtake left. Within 3 seconds, so it's a question as to whether I'm going to dive bomb it or not. I realize it's a little bit too reckless to try and make that happen, so I just got to try and stick with him as he almost loses it completely. I go a little bit wide there on the corner exit, but you can tell he's really struggling with his tires. So taking alternate lines where I can, try and reduce the effect of the dirty air. And we're right up on his diffuser. We're right there with Racer 51 in front, so he's struggling with dirty air. We're a lot closer. And is this going to be the opportunity? Not quite. Have to do a heavy lift just to keep it on track. That's what I mean when the dirty air is quite significant. I think I lost like half a second just on that corner alone. But like I said, trying to claw it back just to be within slipstream range for the main straight. That's pretty much the prime overtaking opportunity into turn 1. And going into this last turn here, we're just going to be shoved out wide, and luckily I managed to keep control of the car, but that's pretty much the end of our hopes of getting a top 10 finish here. So at the end of this race, we finish P12, 58 seconds off the lead, so not a great result, but there's one more slot to try and do a little bit better, so let's see how it goes. So forgive me as I forgot to record the footage of qualifying, but you can see there in this shot that I did a lot better. I definitely crashed again on the second qualifying lap, but my first lap was good enough to do a P4 start right behind Grove Street. We got Matt and Viceroy in front, but if we can get a good jump off the line, there's a chance with some overtake and some slipstream that we can gain a couple spots before heading into turn 1. Okay, 5 lights. And this time I actually take off in first gear. Something happens with Grove Street there, so up into P3. Now I just got to make sure I defend this position. I don't close off the lane, so there's an opportunity there for Parolin to send it up the inside, but he kind of backs out, which is good for me. No damage, which is better than I could say of the last race. We're into P3 with a little bit of a gap in front and a little bit of a gap behind. So skipping ahead all the way to the beginning of lap 9, I feel as though I have a lot more pace to unlock in this car. However, I can't use it because it just seems like anytime I get close to Matt, there's just like a wall of dirty air at 1.5 seconds, and you can see Simi is reducing the gap between us. But you know, when he gets close, the same thing happens to him. He drops back to 2 seconds, gets closer, drops off, and I could say that from lap 2 to lap 9, I've definitely just been sitting here between 1.5 and 2 seconds, with the exception of the case in which Matt makes a small error and then we're able to temporarily get a little bit closer. But the dirty air is honestly, it's just too much to overcome. So now we're still in it. Simi's 1.4 away from me. I'm 2.6 behind Matt after accruing a couple mistakes. And I gotta say, the other thing that can come into play here to get an overtake done is potentially a divergence of strategy. Now, I noticed that Matt was struggling for grip, and he actually goes in at the end of lap 14. So either he's planning on doing 16 laps on mediums, or he's going to do a 2-stop. And if it's the latter, that might be to my advantage because I have no intentions of doing a 2-stop. I'm really trying to make these soft tires last for as long as possible. Now you can see the front left is a little bit more than 50% worn, but the goal is to get to at least lap 18. Minimizing the amount of laps I need to do on a medium would be to my advantage for sure. End of lap 16, beginning of lap 17, you see Simi goes into the pits, so he's planning on doing 13 laps on the medium tire. And end of lap 17, you're going to see Parolin goes in, and he's planning on doing 12 laps on the medium. I'm trying to stick it out still. There's still a little bit of a life left in that front left. Have TCS turned to 1 as that extra security blanket, because you know, with these cars, one mistake and your race could be over just like that. You can see I'm 13 seconds behind Viceroy, so the win is off the tables, but P2 is very much in play. So how much longer are these soft tires going to last? Well, the answer is 20 laps for both me and Viceroy. So I'm not going to be able to get an undercut done here. And even if I tried it, 14 seconds is a little bit too much. 10 laps on the medium tire with Matt 15 seconds behind. Now, I didn't see what tire Matt switched to, but if he was doing all this on the medium tire, I would be in trouble because, as you can see there, he definitely overtook me. Parolin is 30 seconds behind me from when I entered the pits, and we're going to do just enough to stay ahead of him. You're going to see with such a long race, sometimes I go into autopilot here, and I totally missed my braking point. I misread the 100 sign, thought it was the 50 that I was braking at, and as I panic a little bit, but I'm able to get the car back on track to preserve that lead. I only lost about 2 seconds doing so. Now, at the end of lap 25 here, you see that Parolin closed the gap a little bit. But it looks like he was just serving a penalty there, and he's battling with T. Cortez behind him. I'm not too sure how close Grove is to them, but something unexpected happens here. Matt was actually on a 2-stop. So now I'm thinking, bring it home for P2. This would be an amazing result. as long as I can hold off Parolin ahead, then I should be able to get some good points for pretty much the only race of the Gazoo Cup that I plan on doing. Now, I'm skipping ahead here to the last lap of the race. At this point, I'm just focused on bringing it home safe and sound. 16-second gap to Viceroy. That is insane. Big shout out to GSR Viceroy 1. He absolutely killed it, but in the end, with one corner to go, we're gonna bring it home for a P2 finish. Can you believe it? A P2 finish in a stacked lobby like this for Super Formulas with heavy damage. My goodness. I gotta say, this one was pretty fun. So here's to hoping that Gazoo events in the future end up being this exciting. Maybe I'll do another one. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and do all the things. I'll talk to you guys next time.